Everyone in the hospital froze. A massive German shepherd walked in, alone, carrying a bloodied little girl draped over his back. No leash, no owner, just determination in his eyes. What followed stunned doctors, nurses, and an entire nation. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a miracle nobody saw coming. It was an ordinary afternoon in the emergency wing. Nurses chatting at the station, doctors reviewing charts. The usual rhythm of a hospital in motion. The automatic doors at the entrance hissed open like they always did, but what entered next made the entire room freeze. A large German shepherd, soaked in dirt and dried blood, strode into the hallway, alone. His fur was matted, his eyes sharp with purpose. Draped over his broad back was a small girl, no older than 5, dressed in a torn pink dress stained crimson. Her arms hung limp. Her head rested against his neck. Gasps echoed. A clipboard clattered to the floor. For a second, nobody moved. It was as if the hospital itself held its breath. This wasn't a service dog. He wore no tags, no leash. But he walked straight through the lobby like he knew exactly where he was going. The girl didn't stir. A nurse was the first to react, rushing forward with wide eyes and trembling hands. "Oh my God, someone help," she cried out. The German shepherd stopped, standing tall and alert, his ears pinned back as if bracing for resistance. Several doctors approached cautiously, unsure whether to intervene or back away. The dog let out a low growl, not aggressive, but warning, his eyes locked on anyone who moved too fast. One young nurse, her voice calm but firm, knelt slowly. "Hey, buddy, it's okay. We're here to help," she whispered. The German shepherd didn't flinch. He looked at her for a long moment, then with a slow, careful motion, lowered himself to the floor and allowed the little girl to slip gently from his back. The nurse caught her just in time. "She's still breathing," someone shouted. In an instant, everything snapped into motion. Stretchers rolled in, hands reached out, and the race to save her began. The trauma team surged forward, lifting the unconscious girl onto a stretcher. With practiced urgency, monitors were wheeled in, for lines prepped, and a doctor barked orders as the hallway transformed into a scene of controlled chaos. But as the team pushed the stretcher toward the emergency room, the German shepherd lunged forward. He wasn't ready to let her go. "Hold the dog back," someone yelled, but the nurse who had knelt beside him earlier stepped in. "Wait. Look at him, he's not attacking. He just doesn't want to leave her." The dog whined, pacing beside the gurney, his eyes frantic. Mark, the attending physician, paused. "Let him come," he said softly. "If he got her here, we owe him that much." As they moved quickly down the corridor, the dog ran beside them, limping slightly, a gash on his shoulder visible now that the urgency had slowed for a second. A faint trail of blood behind him hinted at a long, painful journey, nurses whispered. In disbelief, unable to wrap their minds around what they were witnessing. This wasn't just a dog. It was a guardian who had fought to bring her to safety. And he wasn't letting her out of his sight. The storm had rolled in faster than anyone expected. Trees bent under the weight of the wind, and rain came down in sheets, blurring the forest trail into a muddy, chaotic mess. The little girl had been playing near the edge of the woods when it started. Her parents were distracted for only a moment, but that was all it took. By the time they turned around, she was gone. Elsewhere in those dark woods, the German shepherd wandered alone. He had no collar, no name, just old scars that hinted at a past filled with hardship. But when he heard the distant cry of a child through the storm, something deep inside him shifted. He found her huddled beneath a fallen tree, her pink dress soaked, her knees scraped and bleeding. She was shaking from fear and cold. Then came the sound that changed everything, a growl from the shadows. Something moved in the brush. Maybe a wild animal, maybe worse. The dog stood between it and the girl, snarling, protecting her with his entire body. By morning, she was unconscious, blood seeping from her side. With no one coming and time running out, he made a choice. He hoisted her gently onto his back and began to walk. Back at the hospital, the chaos had settled into tense silence. The little girl was in surgery. Nurses moved quietly. Monitors beeped steadily. And outside the operating room, the German shepherd sat with his head low, ears twitching at every sound. He refused food. He refused water. His eyes never left the door where they had taken her. A few staff members tried to comfort him, but he only whined softly, pacing in small circles before sitting again, waiting. A pediatric nurse named Elena knelt beside him, watching with a mixture of awe and heartbreak. "You're not just any dog, are you?" she whispered. Meanwhile, a security officer pulled up the hospital's entrance footage. Within minutes, the clip spread online like wildfire. A lone German shepherd walking into a hospital with a wounded girl on his back. People didn't just watch it. They cried. The world had taken notice. But inside those walls, only one thing mattered. Would she survive? In the sterile white glow of the operating room, surgeons worked with quiet intensity. The girl's injuries were worse than they'd feared. Multiple fractures, deep lacerations, and dangerously low blood pressure. "She's lost a lot of blood," one of the doctors muttered, suctioning away more than he expected. Every second counted. They moved as one, repairing torn tissue, stabilizing her vitals, stitching and sealing as quickly as humanly possible. Outside, the German shepherd still waited, ears perking at every creak of a stretcher or echo of footsteps. He paced and whimpered, sensing that something important was happening behind those doors. Inside, a nurse paused for a brief moment, eyes locked on the small body on the table. "How did she even survive the night?" she asked softly. The lead surgeon didn't look up. "She didn't survive it alone," he replied. "That dog carried her through hell. Now it's our turn to bring her back." The hours crawled by. Night had fallen, and the hospital lights glowed dim against the quiet halls. Then finally, the doors to the operating room opened. A doctor stepped out, tired but smiling. "She made it," he said simply. A wave of relief swept over the nearby nurses. And almost on cue, the German shepherd stood up, tail wagging faintly, ears perked. "She's asking for Hero," the nurse reported. That's what she called him. Hero. The staff exchanged glances. The name felt right. In the recovery room, the girl lay pale and still, her little chest rising and falling with soft effort. Her eyes fluttered open, searching. "Hero," she whispered. And then he was there, carefully allowed in, walking softly on the polished floor. When he reached her side, he lowered his head gently onto the bed beside her. Her tiny fingers curled into his fur. Doctors watched silently as tears welled in their eyes. No one dared speak. The room, filled with machines and charts and clinical precision, now felt warmer, like something sacred had just happened. The girl was safe. And the stray, the outcast, the wanderer with no name, had become a guardian angel, and his name was now Hero. As the girl rested, local authorities pieced together the mystery. Her parents, frantic and tearful, arrived at the hospital hours later. They had filed a missing child report when she vanished. During the storm, seeing her alive, bruised but breathing, left them speechless. But their biggest shock came when they asked the obvious question, "Whose dog is that?" The answer stunned everyone. The German shepherd had no microchip, no collar. No owner came forward. He had appeared from the woods the night she went missing. A forestry team later confirmed sightings of a lone dog near the trail, circling like he was searching. GPS data from a fitness tracker worn by a hiker revealed a path, over 11 miles through mud, rain, and tangled brush. He wasn't her dog. He didn't belong to anyone. He had simply found her, decided she needed saving, and never left her side. The decision was instant. The girl's parents, still shaken but overwhelmed with gratitude, asked the question before anyone else could. "Can we adopt him?" The hospital staff cheered. A few days later, Hero left the hospital not as a stray, but as a cherished member of a new family. A small ceremony was held in the hospital garden. Staff gathered, news crews filmed, and Hero wore a bright red collar for the first time. In her arms, the little girl whispered, "You saved me." Hero licked her cheek and rested his head against her. He had finally found home, and so had she. Sometimes, heroes don't wear badges or capes. Sometimes, they walk on four legs, with tired eyes and silent courage. Hero didn't just rescue a little girl. He reminded the world what loyalty, instinct, and love look like in their purest form. This story isn't just about survival. It's about connection, destiny, and the silent bond between a child and a guardian who found her in the darkest moment. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe for more true tales that will restore your faith in humanity and in the incredible animals who walk beside us.